What's the word, y'all? It's Double R the God tapping in with y'all, man. This is the 12th episode of the God Pod. This is a very special day. This is actually our first female guest on the show, so this is exciting. She is the owner of FreshRootz, which is a plant-based juice and juicery restaurant based out in Detroit. They just opened up their second location out in Rochester. Congratulations to you on that. Me and my wife and my son actually got a chance to go to the Rochester location on Women's National Day. You guys were throwing an event. The food was fire. I had the fish and chips meal. That was my first time actually trying the vegan fish with heart of palm, so that was fire. Had the right amount of spice on it, breading and everything. My wife, she had the cold avocado wrap. That was fire. I got to taste that. Should have got one of those too. And my son, he got something I can't even remember, but he liked it, so that's a plus. Outside of her being a restaurant owner, she's also a community builder. She's always in the community, and most importantly, she's a mother. So without further ado, Fatima Tico. How you feeling today?
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. That's what's up. So how was the event, the National Women's event for you?
Actually, that was so. Majority of the people who know me know my background in PR, and for the most part, a lot of times I'm throwing the events and I'm behind the scenes. So for me to be hosting in the middle of everything and the business owner at first was a little overwhelming, but then I was like, dang, I really did this
Yeah.
shit. Like we're really celebrating all the women that were there. And I was honored to have my sister Randy Rosario there and just all the business owners. Like one of my customers who is now like she does all this permanent jewelry. She does all my jewelry. It's like everybody that was in there has turned into a part of the business, coming from a customer standpoint. And it was just like, wow, just being able to build with all these powerful women and then me be able to step out of my shell from behind the scenes and come forward was one of the most exciting parts of it. And so Fresh Roots' motto is deeply rooted, and we're deeply rooted in everything we do. And how could I not be deeply rooted in Women's International History Month,
Absolutely.
being a business owner and having the background that I have? So
Yeah, that's
awesome.
that's dope to throw events at your own restaurant. It can be hard wearing multiple hats, especially at an event where you're doing one thing and then you're preparing to do another thing. But it always feels so rewarding after the fact, you
Oh,
know.
for sure.
Um, and it was a nice event too. It's
Thank
it's
you.
always a good thing to see people that genuinely support and that you support show up to your events as well. So what was the inspiration behind starting up Fresh Roots?
So there were a couple of things. One of the main things is basically having not had access to proper healthcare places, health healthy eating places. I think you can probably relate to this. Just growing up in environments where even the health food spots or like a fast food health place,
Right.
where you're getting tons of sugars and powders and fake stuff that you're sold the idea of healthy, like smoothie places that are absolutely not healthy. Um, that was one of the main things. Another thing for me was just dealing with family members that had severe health conditions. Um, that I started doing a lot of holistic, um, building my holistic knowledge and just understanding how easy it is for us to gain our better health from the root of what God has given us. So, um, just basically starting with that.
Was there any like specific moments that or like any experiences that you had that you can remember that drew you into this? Like was there something that was like this I have to change after this experience?
Um, I think with working in the sports world and traveling and just seeing that there was so many of these type places out down south, out on the West Coast, and it was just like, why don't we have anything like that? And I just made it part of my mission to figure out how do we incorporate that. And so just working with other athletes and getting an understanding of what are their needs. So if that's what their need is, there's a larger need for it. Um, My personal moment was just reminiscing on growing up, whether it was from my father's side of the family or my mother's side of the family. Juicing has culturally just been a thing. Like any Mediterranean place that you go to, you're going to get like the fresh pressed carrot juice or the fresh pressed orange juice. And so I really started to ponder on it, and just God rest her soul, my grandma was a really big support system for me. In terms of like pushing me to go ahead and do it and just really focus on healthcare and things like that. But my biggest supporter and my biggest motivation is my brother. Is like my best friend. And so for me it was just in the same time as I was opening up Fresh Roots and the idea and the concept, um, he started to worsen in his health. And I had to step in as his caretaker. And while I was doing that, I was speaking to a lot of nutritionists and dietitians and things like that. And the idea of vegan didn't come until maybe 2 years later. So Fresh Roots has only been vegan for about 3 years. And so what happened was just learning a lot of those things in regards to my brother's health, I started to transition myself. And it was at first kind of like, oh, I need to lose a little bit of weight real quick. And so we did a challenge. It was like a high alkaline vegan raw food challenge. And I realized in 10 days, I lost 12 pounds
Wow.
without working out and just felt so much lighter, so much more energy. My skin was feeling better. And so my brother will tell you, I always try to turn him vegan, and I swear I'm not trying to turn him vegan. But I was introducing some of the things that I was doing to him, and I started to notice that it was helping his health, and he was feeling fuller and he was feeling healthier also. So in that moment, I realized that there's no turning back from this, and there's nothing to do except educate more people on what it is.
That's awesome. Commercial break. We have this Fresh Roots lemonade right here, and I've been dying to try this, so I'm about to try this right now and let y'all guys know what it's hitting on.
Live right here, real reviews.
This is fire. This is fire.
It's a lip smack for me.
Man. I remember the first time that me and my wife came to your restaurant. It was like during the COVID time, and we had tried some of your teas.
Yeah.
And since then, that was the first time I ever had tea with agave. Since then, that's the only sweetener that we use for our drinks.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
agave is perfect.
It is.
But yeah, no, yeah, y'all, this is fire. Make sure y'all get some of this and stop by and grab some. So, how long has Fresh Roots been open for?
So we officially opened our doors in November of 2020. However, we had started to do like pop-ups in 2019, and then we signed the lease for the agreement in Midtown in August of 2019. And we started the construction in March of 2020. They said nope, halted everything. And at that moment, I was in like freak out mode because we weren't eligible for any of the grants or loans or anything. And we had invested so much, and my investor was kind of looking like, what am I doing? I just signed a 5-year lease. And at first, our landlord was like, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to expect. But then he ended up working with us. And man, Mike had to be one of the best landlords I've ever had in my entire life. And I've had other businesses. And he really worked with us and, got us through it. And like I said, the first 2 years were just rocky. Like every day I would think to myself, like, what am I doing? How am I going to get out of this? How am I going to make it through? And I have the best, most amazing 2 young men. And I'm the proudest mother of these 2 young men. With them having transitioned into homeschool because of the pandemic at 16 and Mac was like 12, they ran that shop.
Wow.
Because I had to work my other job and my therapies and handle that. And the business had to go on.
That is crazy.
So they were down in Midtown with their laptops.
Shout out to y'all.
Yo, Joe and Mac, for sure. For sure. And they ran that store. And not only did they run it, they contributed to the menu. They introduced, so we had the acai bowls, and, my son Joe dabbled and came up with the banana berry smoothie bowl. And then Mac was like, well, I got to get one too. And
Oh, that's dope.
he made the tropical bowl. And from there, they have given me so much insight and so much perspective. And it's awesome that they are now at the age of 20 and 16 and can completely run that place blindfolded, both
Wow.
locations. So my oldest is going into business, but he's an IT genius, so he does all my IT stuff.
Mm.
And Mac is just, I mean, he's an avid soccer player, amazing, but his creativity is beyond his age. And so he doesn't get it when I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? He doesn't know, like, mom's picking my brain. Well, he will know now, but
Man.
yeah.
So you said that you guys like started right before the pandemic. That was
Hmm.
like a troubling time for a lot of business owners
Hmm.
because a lot of businesses got shut down in that time.
Especially in that area. I mean, we were right on campus. The campus was closed. All the office buildings around us were. It was like haystacks rolling down the street type close. Like
Mm.
it was ridiculous.
So
So
what would you say was, outside of COVID, what would you say was one of your biggest fears starting up Fresh Roots?
honestly, I had absolutely no fears. Believe it or not,
Wow.
I had no fears because I have had such a passion for educating in health and wellness. My background is in social work. I'm a social worker. So I've always wanted to help people. But I think my biggest, not necessarily fear, but my worry was that people wouldn't understand the value and the
I can
price of
see that.
things. Just kind of looking at why do they go to these fast food health joints is because they're so cheap and easy. Same way that they would go to a regular fast food restaurant rather than a health food place. But we brought so much to the community early on, more than just the product and showing them and gain their trust. That it just was like inevitable to do amazing.
That's awesome. How did you develop like the business acumen and the understanding of like the plant-based restaurants and the niche?
Okay. So a couple of different things. Again, having a lot of conversations with different nutritionists and dietitians and such, but more so collaborations. Like we had the collaboration with Virus Vegan. They are now flourished and they have gone into their own location that they'll be announcing. I'm so excited for them. But just having a relationship with vegans who have done this for a very long time, let alone vegan chefs, um, and just kind of seeing what it is that the community needed, but it wasn't just the food. There's so much more to it. We've built relationships with Pilates places, yoga places, meditation places, and just kind of really stabilizing yourself, not only what you're putting in, like what you eat, but how you maintain your mental health. And that plays a huge role in how things go.
Now, we don't really have that many. Well, we didn't. We're starting to grow more in Detroit, but we didn't have that many plant-based restaurants at the
Yeah.
time. Did you like were you ever on the West Coast and picked anything up from over there?
More so down south.
Mm.
Because culture wise, just to kind of relate to um my roots, and my partner's roots. So if you notice our menu, it's very diverse. So you got your Mediterranean type food and you have your Indian type food and then you have your soul food and it's very fusion type, right? Um, and that's one of the things that I love about it. But I would say more so like our goal is to have fun, healthy things that most people would have interest in having. So, for example, we got Q's Kitchen, which is not far from us, and they have more dinner type options. So we have more of a grab and go, and so people come to us and they're looking for that. We're gonna send them there. But one of the things, like when we first opened up, that you know because of the pandemic and stuff, like when we saw oh God, what was the name of it? Honey mustard onion, chili mustard
Oh
onions.
my God, I
When
love
they
chili mustard
closed,
onions.
I was crying. Like,
Yeah,
what? That was one of my most favorite vegan
yeah,
places to go
it
because
was.
it was like a community that is being built with all the different vegan spots. And so now, like when people ask, it's like, okay, we're gonna tell them to go to more foods, or we're gonna tell them to go here or there or there. And we don't. What I love about the vegan community is there's no whole bar. We all eat from each other's places. We all refer to each other's places. It's no competition in it because our main goal is to educate people.
Absolutely.
So
What do you think was one of the hardest parts about getting Fresh Roots off the ground?
Mm, the pandemic. The pandemic. I think the idea and the concept was so large, and my relationships and my network was so huge, but my plan kind of just plummeted. Why? A lot of the athletes that I worked with were no longer allowed to come outside. They weren't allowed to make the appearances. So my marketing plan was just like, okay, that's not gonna work. What do I do now? Well, in the same breath, that's where the pandemic helped because we have things like our wellness shots, our immune booster shots, and it was just introducing those to people and having them understand a lot of the stuff that you're buying at some of these grocery stores or some of these other places are not as potent. They're watered down. They're not what they're supposed to be. So a lot of people who were struggling with family members that had COVID or had flu like symptoms or had anything were taking these shots and we're like, okay, so beyond having a famous face, it was real people with real testimony. And that was where I realized, okay, this shit's real.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. When I love those type of situations because, like, as I've grown and gotten older, I realize like those situations that you get put in bring the best out of you every time.
Oh, yeah.
Like for you to have everything situated and like, okay, this is how we're getting ready to roll things out, and then that's just like, yeah, that's not going to work. And then you have to use that creativity and that intuition to draw out something that you didn't even know had in you. And then, like, it brought out testimony. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not only is it not just about, the marketing value of being able to have familiar faces, but the fact that this shit actually works.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned your two sons. Besides them, who were some other people that you feel like were big contributors and support?
The community, the community itself. Just hearing what it is that they wanted and gaining an understanding, like I said, building with the vegan community and just trying to see what potential can this establishment bring. So just going back to saying it's not just the products that we provide, it's the educational sessions. Being on or near college campuses, we're able to reach the generations that we need to reach to make sure that they're armed with the proper information that they need to have. So having events in store is really where it's at. So we can have all these great products, but how are we going to reach the masses? And so just having like heart health month or women's health month, men's health month, um, and just really educating. And one thing that's super different than majority of the other like juiceries and stuff, when we do our detoxes and cleanses, it's not just a one packet, oh, okay, this is gonna make you lose weight, this is gonna get rid of your bloating. No, we're gonna sit down with you. We're gonna find out what are your health conditions, what is your exercise level, what medications are you on, what allergies do you have, and we're gonna make that kit geared towards you because your DNA is not my DNA, your activity level is not my activity level.
Absolutely.
So the same drink can't do the same thing for both of us. So just really being able to provide that aspect, it really makes it stand out.
What do you feel like has been one of the most rewarding parts of, starting your business from the ground up and just, having your own business?
Oh, okay. Well, this is an easy one. For over, I want to say, over 15 years, I have been the shadow to many successful individuals, many businesses, many brands. If you know my background, you know where I've stood, whether it's TV to music to fashion, entertainment, sports, whatever you can name. And when I realized that, hold on, I have this idea and let me put that same energy into myself and really push it from there. I never in a million years thought that I was going to become the face of it. I didn't want to become the face of it because I was so used to being behind the scenes. And so once I realized that there's a comfort level that people had with me and seeing me doing this, I knew that this is what it's going to be. So,
That's what's up.
yeah.
That's what's up. So you guys just opened up a second location out in Rochester. What has that transition been like, just having a second restaurant and running both of them?
Oh boy, I'm gonna need to sit back for this. Let's get comfortable. Well, let me tell you this. Whoever told anybody that being a business owner was easy, lied. one. Two, the transition is never easy, no matter how prepared you think that you are. Because life will hit you very quickly and you won't even know that it's coming. So I say that to say, again, I had my marketing strategies in place and I had all my ideas and the hype was there. And we went to Rochester Hills because we had such a high population that were coming from Troy, from Flint, from Auburn Hills, from Pontiac. And we're closer in that aspect, right? So the customers were there and ready to be there. Um, we this past summer, I went through some stuff with my younger brother and unfortunately ended up in a situation where we were told he needs a second heart transplant, a kidney transplant, a liver transplant, and issues with his lungs.
Wow.
And 8 hospitals nationwide said no. And in that moment, I realized there's something that I have to do to help my brother. Whether I've been his caretaker for the last 5 years or what it was, meaning moving forward, advocating for him. I was in the middle of transitioning to a second location, managing a job site, making sure these contractors were getting the job done. And I just realized everything just had to halt. My brother's got to come first. And so finally got everything started, got him out of the hospital, started communication with the hospital in Chicago. And I was very well aware that we had to work on getting him a specific insurance, which is Medicare, because he has state insurance. And so I didn't realize what a battle it was. Again, I sincerely believe in God positioning you to have certain knowledge and experience, hence me being a social worker in case management, and just having an understanding. One thing led to another. We finally got the doors open in September and the flow was there and the consistency was there and everything appeared to be going the way it was supposed to be. And I was supposed to go away for a weekend just to take him to Chicago and, meet with these doctors and such. The day that I was leaving, they called me from the hospital and said that they would not take him without insurance.
Oh
Like I was literally pressing the juices, packing them to split between the locations to make sure it was going to be covered. About to go pick him up from dialysis and get on the road.
That's crazy.
And when I tell you that broke me to my core, I always say, like, I asked them to delete the camera footage of the location because of the way I had broke down. I was like, I never want to see that again. Like, I never want to know that anybody couldn't see that. And so God willing, his way opened the door and said, we worked with some attorneys and some other case managers and stuff to get to Chicago. So I get to Chicago and, they say that there's hope and things like that, but you still have to get the insurance. And so my brother hasn't been out in a really long time. So we go hang out in Chicago for a few days and come back. I think it was like a day or two. The day before we were leaving, I'll never forget it. We were in the hotel and one of my employees called and said, the health department's here. And I was like, okay, cool. The binder is right under the counter. It has all the licenses in it. Everything is cool. Just give her the binder. She knows what she's looking for. Answer any questions. We do everything right. Everything's labeled, whatever. So the lady from the health department gets on the phone and says, we can't find your license. I was like, what do you mean you can't find my license? My certificate of occupancy is sitting right up on that shelf and the license is right in the notebook. And she's like, no, there's another license. And I was like, what other license? What are you talking about? Like, I submitted everything to the city and I got my approvals from the health department. And she says, well, in Oakland County, there's 2.
Wow.
I said, what do you mean there's 2? What are you talking about? Like, I got my clearance to open. So they lost everything.
Wow.
So
wait, what do you mean? Who lost everything?
However the transition happened. I don't know who. I never got deep into it. Whatever the transition of getting from the city to the county, there was a loss in providing information. So the lady was really good. So I'm doing a lot of crying in this first week of October. So fly back. Literally, drove back, literally get back over into their office. I'm like, what can I do? And she's like, well, it's going to take about 2 weeks. We got to do a whole process over. And I'm like, what? Like, you don't understand. I just opened up. I just got this flow going. So here I am for 2 weeks with a closed door, and everybody that was coming didn't know when we were going to be open, because I didn't know when we were going to be open. So it's not like I could put a sign up and be like, oh, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Like, nobody knew that was going to happen. So regenerating the customer flow in was probably one of the hardest things I ever have to do. Like, having a business that had a slow start is something, but having a business that had a good start and close and have to
Yeah.
reopen was something else. Um, so we have amazing landlords. We're right next door to Lucky's. Ironically, we're right by a steakhouse. But they're really good about telling their customers about us, and their employees shop with us. So we're working on a few things to get like some signage and some better things. But in that period of time, that's a $13,000 loss.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah.
That is
So
crazy.
the transition is not easy.
Man.
Yeah. So you got to shake that dust off and figure it out. It's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of anxiety. It's a lot of partnership agreements and disagreements. It's a lot of hard conversations to have, and it's not for the weak. And here we are. We're pushing through.
That's
And
good.
I mean, you saw that Saturday. It
Right.
was a
Yeah.
heck of a time.
Yeah.
I was lit to see how many people were in there.
Yeah, that was nice.
Mm-hmm.
So what has been one of the biggest lessons that you've taken, like, from your first restaurant bringing over to your second restaurant? Like, what's something that was like, I'm not going to do this in my next restaurant, or we have to apply this in our next restaurant?
Staff. And it was my goal. And again, because of the closing and opening and all of that, it did get off course. But you can't do everything on your own. You can't. You have to have a team. It's impossible for one person to do everything. Yes, I can perfect things. Yes, I can, make things move properly. But me being in behind the counter also puts me in a position to not be out in the community. And my goal is to be out in the community. So finding the proper staff. In an establishment like this, it's not like you can just hire anybody. It's staff that has to have interest in health and wellness and have just as much passion about it as you do. So building the right team. I mean, Detroit, the team that I have there, I swear to you, like, blindfolded, amazing team. And we're building that in Rochester Hills now, but definitely applying that. And then the other thing would probably be just financially having a better cushion and perspective of what is needed. So I'm very optimistic. And I'll be like, oh, that costs $10,000. Don't worry, I'll have $20,000 by next week. And then next week comes out, I'm like, oh shit, how am I gonna get that $20,000? So from a business standpoint, and a lot of people don't talk about this stuff. It's like that hidden thing, like, oh no, businesses don't struggle.
Right.
No, they do. So having those conversations, you never know who you're going to talk to. You're never going to know. You never know, who might have a better idea for you. So just being transparent and open to having those conversations will make your business better. I mean, it's ironic. I've actually owned Little Caesars franchise out in Connecticut.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, this isn't my first rodeo in food, and I swore up and down that I would never do food again. But we're here.
Man.
Yeah.
So what do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions about plant-based food?
Oh, one of the biggest, well, I just did a video about this. So I do this thing called Fresh Tip Fridays, and every Friday we post tips. So it's funny. My youngest son, being a soccer player, is always like, I need protein. And there's not enough protein in being vegan. And I'm like, sir, there's so much protein in being vegan. You have people like his coaches where they'll instill in him, well, you got to have steaks and you got to have salmon. You have this and that. And it's like, you don't have to have those things. So two big misconceptions is your probiotics, that you can still get probiotics without dairy, and maintaining the proper level of protein. So a lot of people I think they drastically jump in and they don't educate themselves and they're eating salads and just
Yeah.
basic raw foods and they're just losing tons and tons of weight and muscle mass without realizing, no, hold on, let me incorporate this or that. So
Y-
those
Yeah.
two things
I
probably.
definitely think the protein one is probably the biggest misconception
Hmm.
about being plant based. And a lot of people get into the plant based world not really knowing what to eat. And they're just all over the place. They're eating chips. Like they just think that
Oh, I
no
did it.
meat.
Oh, I did it. Like I said, when I first jumped in, I went raw vegan. It was amazing, felt good. And then, Deja with Fire Rest Vegan, I had wanted like, lobster mac and cheese. And when she made that cheese pull, and I was like, why the hell would I ever go back? It was so good. It was so good. But what happened was I found the comfort food in the cookies that we have and
Mhm.
the cinnamon rolls and this and that. And oh, Oreos are vegan? Okay, well, I can have a stack of
Right.
Oreos.
Right.
And I was like, why am I gaining all this weight back? I'm eating vegan. No, it's not that easy.
Right.
Yeah. So there's some thick vegans out there.
Man. And I feel like it's a difference between like I feel like vegan is more like the buzzword and it's like plant based. Like is your diet mostly consisting of plants and vegetables,
Mm,
fruits and
mm.
vegetables? And yeah. What do you think makes Fresh Roots different from other vegan restaurants?
Well, because like I said, it's not necessarily a full-on restaurant. So Fresh Roots being deeply rooted brings more to the table than anybody does, ironically. Um, from the juices being freshly pressed every single day, no added preservatives, no sugars, no powders. That's one thing that is completely different to the community partnerships that we have. If you notice, both locations have a field outside. We do fit clubs and challenges. We get people in to get outside. So we arm them with what they need to take in with their like nutrients and things. But we also arm them with the basics of getting outside, whether it's yoga, Pilates, fit clubs, meditations. We do art therapy. We've had things with we've done like vision boards, goals, things like that. So just giving them more knowledge on things that they can maintain. I am not one to hide my recipe. You need help? Sure, I got you. This is how you make this, that. Are you ever gonna make it like Fresh Roots? Probably not. But I'm not opposed to it. You see what I'm saying? Um, I know for a fact we are the generation of convenience. And no, majority of people are not going to go buy a juicer and go through the process of cleaning out the compost
Right.
and pounds of juicing. It's not easy, nor it's not cheap. So I know that brings a lot of difference to. I mean, I have no competition. There's no competition for Fresh Roots. You can't name a place right now that does anything that Fresh Roots is doing.
Facts.
Yeah. And
Facts.
so with us having the intention and however God leads it, it'll go, but with us having the intention of being on or near college campuses, just building with those universities and those colleges. I mean, one of the reasons we went to Rochester Hills was the vice president of Oakland University patroned our Detroit location. And he was like, yo, they're out here cloning chickens. Like, you need to come out this way.
For real.
And so that's exactly what we did. So just having that network and reaching the right people, knowing that we're going to reach the age group that we really want to reach.
What do you feel like is the biggest or one of the biggest challenges when it comes to sourcing high quality produce or foods and keeping the price reasonable?
Okay, this is what I'm going to say. I don't know what camera to look in, but this is what we're going to say. I'm going to tell you this. Stop trying to find organic stuff. Organic is non existent. There's no such thing as an organic seedless watermelon or an organic cotton candy grape. Stop finding organic. Go local. Go local. Go local. That's all I'm going to
Man.
say. In truth, I get 50% of my customers a day. Oh, are you guys doing organic or is this organic? Like, first of all, Organic is ridiculously expensive for no reason. And majority of the time when the organic shipment comes in, you got to film around these pretty looking apples that are not even real.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not wasting my money and I'm not wasting yours. So we work with a couple of different providers, produce providers, Charmatos in Eastern Market. Phenomenal. We do use Cisco for certain things, but we only use them for locally grown. More so like our cups and things like that too. But just really trying to find local. Now, I have a bigger vision for FreshRootz. So aside from turning it into a franchise, um, I'm looking and scouting individuals who are looking to go into farming, and so that we will have our own farms to be able to grow these things.
That's dope.
Yeah. So, my family does have a property out in Monroe, and we are currently leasing it out to somebody who grows corn throughout the year. Um, the thing is it's not big enough to do what I need to do with it, but it is a learning process and just seeing what are the guidelines and having a farm and growing produce. And unfortunately, we're still stuck in the process of certain pesticides that have to be sprayed and certain
Wow.
chemicals that have to be in the ground. And so what I currently do is utilize my home garden. So my dad plays a huge role. I love my dad. He is so into this. Like he's always it's funny. Before we went vegan, my dad would be like, "You have to make an egg smoothie." And I'm like, "What is an egg smoothie?" Like, what did you watch? Rocky and just feel like we're just
Right.
gonna have eggs, egg and banana. Like he kept saying it.
What?
It was the biggest joke, but I love it. And he's so passionate about what I do that I mean, we got booked one time for TED Talk, and I had to do 700 juices a day. When I tell you, my dad, he's got back problems and things like that, he was standing there right with me, labeling the bottles, making sure I had what I need, helping me move fridges from place to place, just right there. And it's exciting because he's got a huge field of mint. So from spring to early fall, I mean late fall, early winter, I'm getting my mint from my dad's garden.
Mm.
You're getting fresh mint from a composted, tilled ground with no pesticides.
That's awesome.
So we grow our tomatoes, we have lettuce, we have onions, like we have so many different things. So it's still minimal. It's able to do 2 locations, but I want to be able to do more. So yeah, that's where we're at
That's
with it.
nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. So y'all heard it here, man. That food is coming out of the earth with
Yes.
love.
Yes. Yes.
How do you feel like the plant-based wave or just overall culture is affecting black and brown communities?
Positively. Positively. I think we're finally learning. And I think we're finally taking the time to educate each other. It used to be funny. We're like, "Oh, you're vegan?" Like they would make fun of you, like, "Oh, you're vegan?"
Man.
Where now it's like, um, I hate to say this word, but it's true. It's turning into a trend. So you have to be careful
It
with
is.
that trend. You're getting a lot of things that are processed foods that are processed vegan, the Beyond Burgers, the Impossible Meats, things like that. And so I think I've made it a purpose to make sure that when I am using the plant-based items, that it's still made from an actual plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the most important thing. And once they seen the vegan wave taking over, marketers and big companies, they just put their foot into the game
100%.
and they were like, oh, veganism is popular.
Yeah.
You see vegan ice cream, you see vegan
It's crazy,
burgers,
right?
hot dogs, all of that stuff. And it's like, it's cool to have that every now and then. But that is why people are getting sick when they think that they're going vegan, because they're eating processed food. And it's like,
Yeah.
you have to be eating fresh fruit. You have to be
Mhm.
drinking smoothies. You have to be eating apples, oranges, pears, the whole nine.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great thing. So we've had a thoughtful plate doing our desserts for a very long time, but they are also just like Fire Ass Vegan was very intentional with the foods that they create. And so you still can have the hot dog, but the hot dog is going to be made of things like carrot. You still can have the burger, and it's going to be made from mushrooms or beans.
Right.
You know, just be real conscious about what it is that you're getting. You can still have those items. And you know, like I said, my siblings will joke with me and be like, "Why do you guys want to be vegan so bad, but you want to call everything exactly what it is? Like, why do you still want a steak if you want to be vegan?"
Right.
And so I think there's a lot of educating that still needs to be done. Um, yes, it is being sold very much so with like the idea of still having those type things. But I have had customers that'll say like, no, we're not going to call that a fish. That's heart of palms. No, we're not going to call that steak. And that is a mushroom. And so you'll get all types of vegans.
Right.
One thing that was a very hard learn for me was when I switched everything vegan and I had honey, and everybody was like, "Honey's not vegan," and I'm like, "What? How? What do you
Yeah, you
mean?"
definitely have different extremes of veganism.
100%. And so that's why I realized that there's way more educating to do than providing of the items. So, and that's exactly why we have those events on Saturdays and Sundays. So the chefs are at the Rochester location on Saturday, and the chefs are at the Midtown location on Sunday with a thoughtful plate. Chef Mo and Chef Lisa are awesome. Chef Mo is a survivor of kidney disease. He's got one kidney, like an amazing, amazing story. Um, and that's another thing. We only work with people who are really deeply rooted in what we're doing. So you just I think the biggest thing for the Black and brown community is to really educate themselves and to have a better understanding and not to just jump into it. And you can make yourself sick by not doing it the right way.
No, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing too, like to what you said about as far as us calling it this or calling it that.
Mm-hmm.
What y'all have to understand is a lot of people, and there's a big extremes when it comes to veganism. You have people who don't do animal products at
Yeah,
all.
clothes
You know
and
what I'm saying?
everything.
Yeah, clothes and everything,
Yeah.
which is that is a level that I would like to work to one day.
Yeah.
But that is, I wouldn't say it's unreasonable, but it's hard. But the main reason that most people stop eating meat is not because of their love for animals. It is because they're trying to be healthy, and they know that this lifestyle and this type of foods that we're eating every day is not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
So a burger is still called a burger because it's not that we didn't like the way meat tasted. It's just that we had to make a life-changing decision in our lives to better our health. So
Yeah, a burger's called a burger because the way it's stacked,
right.
not because.
Oh. Man.
Let's get that clear.
Right.
But I mean, there's so many things that were available from what I'm understanding from conversations. I mean, when we sit back and we learn from the vegan community and just understand people who have been vegan for 20 plus years didn't have access to a cashew type cheese or didn't have, and they were just really, really trying to just thug it out and figure it out.
For real.
And so we are very lucky to have accessibility, and accessibility being the main point to what you're saying. I mean, you don't have clothing brands that are plant-based, you know, they exist, but are they readily available?
Right.
And so that's what my plan is with FreshRootz, is to have as many as possible. And, you know, God's plan is God's plan. We just take it one day at a time. And we have nothing better to do than to lean on each other. That's it.
Facts. How do you feel like the culture in Detroit is changing in regards to the plant-based lifestyle?
I love it. I love it. I love to see that the way that it's growing, and it's awesome because you'll see our Midtown location has a huge mural of like some really big talent from the city, local rappers who are into the healthcare, and you'll see like the rappers stumbling in, the athletes stumbling in, you know, and it's just like, dang, how did you guys hear about us?
I seen Dame Dash that stopped in too.
Oh, a couple times. Yeah, a couple times. And it's because they want to have access to these things. I mean, by the grace of God, with the partnership with Fire as Vegan, we had Erica Badu.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were able to provide her juices, and Deja provided all of her foods. Will Smith's daughter, Willow Smith, just stumbled in. Annalie Chapa just stumbled in. I mean, we've had many other outside of Michigan, and I think that has drawn the ones in Michigan to really understand, like, oh, okay, if these people are going in there, something is right about
Classic
that.
Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so, again, all of the business owners, the community that we're in, we all support each other's businesses. We have um, just like Tony Harrison, good friend. I've supported him. He's supported me. Not only does he patron us, but he makes sure to let others know, like, hey, this is a solid place to go to. Um, it's such a beautiful community when it comes to really letting each other know, like, this is a safe place to go, and it is not processed. It is not this. It is not that. So I think the interest in it is peaking, and I think the willingness to try things is there, and just being open to learning. I'm so used to Detroit being such a competitive
Oh
space
my God.
where it's like,
In every
oh
area.
yeah, like, oh, this person has a juice bar, well, I'm gonna open a juice bar. If this person oh, they got vegan food, well, I'm gonna open a vegan food. And it's so not that. And it's so not that. And that's why I can wholeheartedly say, as sad as I am to say Fire as Vegan is not in our locations anymore, I'm so excited to see what's next for them. And the relationship is forever going to be there. That's how the vegan community is. And I think the reason that it's like that is because we've been eating so purely and cleanly for such a long
Exactly.
time that we're able to have such pure and clean intentions for each other.
Facts.
And that's where it makes it deeply rooted.
Yeah. There's definitely a side of Detroit that is for networking, that is for coming together. And I've seen it because I went to a networking event not too long ago, and I felt the energy there. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow. Like sometimes you get into certain parts of Detroit and you like, wow, I didn't even know this part of Detroit existed. And Detroit is so big and there's so many great people
Mm-hmm.
out here. Um, what do you feel like, or who is responsible for the menu of the restaurant? I know you said your sons, they helped with the acai
So
bowls.
currently, right now, our menu right now, some of the items were things that Fire as Vegan had introduced us to, but we pretty much have built onto that menu. So we've currently extended and removed some of the items and changed some of the items. But I will say it's just been more so like DeAndre, who's my business partner, who is not vegan, and Naman, who's my business partner, who is absolutely not vegan. The things that they have fallen in love with from the vegan section and are able to be passionate and speak about is what we've kept on that menu. Also, just making sure we're providing the extensiveness of more so the juices, the wellness shots, the smoothies. Like that was our initial goal, and just keeping it cafe type food because it's not. We don't want it to be a full blown restaurant. Maybe down the line we will have that extension, but the contribution has really been my business partners and I and our family members for the most part. Yeah.
What is your favorite dish on the menu?
Oh, that's so hard. That's so hard. I every time a customer comes in and asks me that, I'll ask them like what section of the menu. But if we're talking about the foods, can I have two?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, a thoughtful plate does like our weekend menus now, and they have these cauliflower lemon pepper wings that'll have you swinging your feet and like dancing how good they taste. Like it is a crunchy flavor. Like I can't explain it. You have to try
Damn,
it.
you're making me hungry.
You have to try it. It's incredible, and it's actually posted. We sold out in both locations this weekend, hours before the day ended.
Damn.
Um, um, but then in addition to that, we also have like a everyday breaded cauliflower, and we do the mac and cheese with like the soy bacon bites on top. Can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. So yeah, that's those two are pretty much it. Otherwise, I'm going for an acai bowl every day when I'm not fasting. Like my ritual is immune booster and get my immune system together. I want a bottle of alkaline water. Um, I have ADHD, so my refresher to help stabilize my mind or a mushroom coffee. And then pretty much just like fruit bowls and stuff until it's dinner time. But that acai bowl,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
dream about that while
acai
I'm
bowls
fasting.
are good.
They are, and it's just so packed. And ours is so different because it's more of like it's not like a watery smoothie type. It's more of like a gelato ice cream type.
Mm,
So it's a lot thicker. So it's not going to melt and just be watery where you have to drink it.
that's awesome. So you're getting ready, like you're moving more into like the franchise realm.
Mhm.
What are some of the differences, like business wise, or difficulties that people may not understand? Like it's not just you, it's not the same as just opening up another restaurant.
Yeah. So there's there's a lot of like little intricate things that goes into planning this process, right? Um Before we can launch our full franchise, we have to have our menu figured out. And so while we're still teetering with some of the foods here and there, we have like our line of juices done. We have our line of smoothies done, our teas, things like that. But I think what people don't understand is when you look at, and it's funny because I studied franchises like McDonald's, how many times they went bankrupt before they actually stayed alive, or how many times um, ownerships have changed, or investors, or menu items. I think one of the biggest learning points for me in franchise was when I had Little Caesars. Like everybody knows Little Caesars is a hot and ready, but we were in Connecticut selling chicken wings and ribs for $5. And that was one of our biggest sellers when we were there. And I was like, I didn't even know that that was on the menu. And so just kind of knowing and understanding that there's like hidden menu items
Mm.
and like how to stock what it is that's needed and how to launch what it is that you want to keep. So I think just finding your exact niche and what you want the brand to be seen as. So like McDonald's is known for what?
Happy Meal.
There you go. So that's one of the things that's a common item. Um so you wouldn't know if they had like, for example, hash browns,
Right.
things like that. So just kind of finding the niche and just making sure to have that focus, that focal point, and then going from there.
Now you allow black owned and brown businesses to utilize your restaurant or your space for, pop-ups and stuff like that. Why do you think that's important?
This is my favorite topic. FreshRootz is woman owned, black owned, and minority owned. And every franchisee will be black owned, woman owned, or minority owned. um, again, being in the shadows of so many successful people and helping them establish their businesses and brands, I've seen that I had to be the chess piece to walk into those rooms and have conversations that unfortunately they could not. And so for me, it has just been, I come from an immigrant family. I seen my dad struggle working the factory for the longest time. I seen, my uncles and my aunts like try to get jobs and try to do this and try to do that, that they just didn't have the right opportunities. So now that I have positioned myself to have these storefronts on or near college campuses, why would I not build with these brands? Like, for example, which by no means do I need to support Randy. She's a vision and brand on her own, but I have her oils and soaps at my location right now where she has to do nothing but leave them there and we're going to sell them. You know what I'm saying? Or I have a lot of these authors. Alante, he's a huge photographer in the city and he put out recently a picture book. And no, I'm going to invest in buying this book and having it at my establishment for people to see what a black photographer from the city is doing. So why would I charge somebody to do something so little for that person when that person is, one, supporting my business by being a customer, two, bringing people in, three, building with my business where if I need a photographer, I can use him. If I need a host, I can use her. If I need, so you build this network and you work with each other. Um, Being Arab, or I should say Middle Eastern, we're known for bartering, right? What can you do for me? What can I do for you?
Absolutely.
So the first time I went overseas, it was the coolest thing in the world for me to see. This family had the cattle. This family had the produce. This family had this, that, and they would exchange. And for the longest time, I always thought about it. And so when I reached now in the Rochester Hills location, there's this thing called Metro Trading. And what they do is it's all the local businesses that are on this program platform together, and they all shop within each other. So like there's a marketing company on there, there's a sign company on there, there's plumbing, there's dentistry, there's whatever. And so you have an initial investment by providing, let's say I did 10 gift cards at $25. So that's $250 that's sitting in the Fresh Roots Bank with Metro Trading. So Fresh Roots needs some printing done. Fresh Roots can use that money to pay for some printing. And now that printing company has $250 that they can spend by buying gift cards again at Fresh Roots. And that money just keeps getting shifted
Right.
within this group. And so I just started to look at that as a bigger thing that why don't we do that in our communities? Where are we to come together to start playing that role with each other? So once I get some things in order, that's one of my next goals. And, maybe somebody hears this and takes it upon themselves to do it first. By all means, we all win if we come together.
Yeah, I think that love and respect and loyalty needs to be the new currency.
100%.
Like that needs to be the official currency. I
100%.
feel like you shouldn't just be able to buy your way in. You have to have those three things. Now, you made a distinction between Arab and Middle Eastern. Why is that important to you?
It's just a cultural thing. Some people will say, "Don't call us Arabs or Arabs or whatever." We're from the Middle East or Middle Eastern, so it's just a slight correction. Yeah,
No, I respect that.
yeah. Especially in the climate of today, so.
No, absolutely. That's why I asked, because I wanted to make that distinction.
Yeah, just in the climate of today.
Now, Michigan has a strong Middle Eastern culture. What do you feel like are some of the biggest strengths in the community?
In the Arab community,
Hmm.
in the Middle Eastern community, camaraderie. Camaraderie. I feel like we all. So here's the thing: none of my businesses are in that area. I'm not in that area. I'm not around that area for the most part, but um, there is a lot of camaraderie. So, like for example, um, my nephew owns a Tasty's franchise. He owns a couple of them, to be quite honest. And every time he has a grand opening, our entire family is going to show up for him. We're going to be there for him, and vice versa. So, regardless of how far Rochester Hills and how sick I just told you my younger brother was, he was there. He pulled himself together and he was there, and that had to be the most beautiful feeling in the world for me. My siblings, my parents, um, and if they can't be there, they're gonna post about it. They're gonna let each other know. So the camaraderie, I think, has to be one of the biggest things, and it doesn't matter how far of a distance we have to go to support each other. I think that's something that we do. Um, and it's always like somebody's aunt knows somebody's uncle who knows somebody's cousin that can help you figure something out. I think that's one thing. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of like competitive nature, and I mean, it's in every culture, it's in every race. But um, I will say, I think when you look at the development in the East Dearborn, West Dearborn, Dearborn Heights area, and just see like, um, the franchises that were open in those areas, from the Dairy Queens to the Dunkin' Donuts to the Sonics, those are all Middle Eastern owned. And it's more than one person. And so they're coming together and buying these businesses. And if we start to learn to do that in the masses, black and brown, you're going to see a huge shift. I think one of the biggest disappointments in Detroit right now is the gentrification and those groups that are coming through and buying these properties at the masses. Like I'm in that situation right now. I had a new landlord that just purchased my building last year. And so I went from paying $2,400 to now being asked $4,100
That's a crazy
for
increase.
under 800 square feet.
Yeah, that's wild.
You see what I'm saying? And so I think, if we start to step in and really support each other and understand, okay, well, this business is making this much, like their rent should not be that high. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So just really working with each other. Like, how can we work with each other and providing the right resources?
absolutely.
Um, so one thing I do love that we are a part of is the Michigan Black Business Association, and they do nothing but help with figuring out finances, providing opportunities. I mean, I enter a cohort program next Tuesday, and they're going to teach hospitality. And for 6 weeks, they're going to put you through this program and position you to build your business and center it around hospitality.
Mm, that's dope.
Yeah. So, um, the Dearborn community, or the Middle Eastern community, I should say, in Michigan, has had that for years. Just really providing each other the education that they need and the support that they need to make sure that they are successful in the business. And rather than letting a business die, somebody's going to step in to help, either buy it from that person and turn it around to make sure that business stays in the city.
No, absolutely.
Hmm.
As a Lebanese woman, have you faced any unique challenges in the entrepreneurial world,
Define unique.
in relation to your ethnicity?
Racism?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just the other day, in Rochester Hills, obviously I'm clearly as Muslim as they come. Um, I was in the back, and one of my employees was speaking to a customer, and I heard her. She's new. I heard her kind of struggling, so I came from the back, and she was like, "Oh, the owner will help you." And the woman looked me dead in the eye and said, "Oh, you're the owner?" And I said, "Yeah, how can I help you?" You know how I am. I'm cheerful. I'm welcoming. I don't know how to see race, religion, color. That's not who I am. And so, long story short, she said she would be back and never came back.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah. And it wasn't like that. Um Prior to that, in what was it? Lost track for years. When did the whole thing start in Palestine recently? 2023. Um that was a huge thing for me. That sat on my heart very heavy. And I felt like I needed to say something. I'm raising two young men who don't need to hide behind their race and their ethnicity and their religion because of what the community and the media is feeding the world.
Not to interrupt, but for those who don't know, could you give like a brief summary of what's going on over there?
Well, it dates back way more than 75 years, 78 years. It's not something that's new. Long story short, it's genocide. It's a genocide that's happening, and it has spread from Palestine to Lebanon to Syria, and the climate is just getting worse and worse and worse when it comes to it. I mean, we've had a current presidential campaign that made promises and lured the Muslim world to come in and vote for him, only for him to turn around and say he's quote unquote buying Gaza. Like, it's deeper than this podcast has time for right now. But um in the midst of everything that had happened, it weighed heavy on me because of a situation I had been in, and I felt the need to speak up about it. And so there was a trend that was going on that said, like, you would taste the drink and it would say, "What does that taste like?" And you would reply and say, um, a company that doesn't support genocide. And I posted that. I made a video and I posted that, and it got some decent views. And then the trolls got a hold of it, and they went on to like all the platforms and started like um leaving bad reviews and lies about the business and all this other stuff. And I was just devastated. I'm like, oh my God, I've worked so hard to do it. And I thought I was doing the right thing by speaking up on something, but it sincerely harmed my business. And so what do I do now? And so for a long time, like, business had slowed down, things had gotten worse. So I was on my TikTok live, and there was a community that was on there, and they were like, "No, we're gonna save this, we're gonna fix it." And somebody who worked at Google went in and cleaned up a lot of those reviews for me,
Wow.
and they put out a mass email to um a lot of the community that was supporting what was happening. And they turned around and they started not only patroning the business, but um leaving positive reviews. And so obviously, things like that last a couple of weeks, and then, people go back onto their daily lives. But um just feeling like you're never going to pass that ceiling of being equal to the other business owners is a horrifying feeling. And so when people tell me like, "Oh, you're rushing into a franchise, or you're doing too many locations, or you're doing this, slow down, slow down." And it's like, I don't have time to slow down. I don't either you guys hop this train with me and we steam push through everything, or mind your business. Because the accomplishments that I've made in almost nearly 6 years with 2 locations, not only the areas that they're in, but the nature of the business already having its own battles to fight, being vegan and being healthy and all of
Man.
that stuff, let alone being the face of it, being a Muslim woman, there's no stopping me. Except God, I mean, what his plan is, but I don't see him stopping me. And it's so many younger girls who look like me, black or brown, that are Muslim, that, you know, they they can be inspired by something like this. And that's where my passion is. Like, if I can inspire them to help their communities in a form of health and wellness, by all means.
No, that's dope. Now, is it true? It's true that you went overseas during around 2006. Now, what are some things over there that you've seen that shaped your worldview?
What didn't I see? So in 2006, I had started to go overseas in 2001. And for almost every single summer, I had finally learned about my roots. Didn't go down there until 2001. So I was 15, 16 years old. And I fell in love with it. It was the most beautiful, most peaceful place that I've ever seen. And I felt like I had been lied to my entire life going to school here and made to believe that this land was not safe, or this land was not a good place, or things like that. And I was like, it's so beautiful. Like, why don't they want us to be here? To the point where I wanted to move there. Like, I wanted to live there. And so at very young age, I had my first son, and he had just turned a year old. And that was the first summer that I went without my parents. And it was just me and my son and my in-laws at the time. And we have this big, beautiful house that sits on the mountaintop. And I swear to you, with every sip of coffee with that view, you're going to gain 10 years of life. The air is just phenomenal. And so my dad called me and said, "Hey, your aunt wants you to go over." So my dad's village is it's known as Tyre in English, but Sur in Arabic. And it sits right on the Mediterranean Sea, the most beautiful village you've ever seen. And it's funny because everybody goes there to go to the beaches. Like, it's like the scenic part of the southern part of Lebanon. And so normally everybody would be like, "Oh, sure, I'll go. My aunt has a house there." But growing up, I didn't speak Arabic very often, and I didn't know the language very well. And it was such a language barrier because his family didn't speak it. Whereas in my mom's village, or I should say the village I was living in, they did. And the people that they did. And my dad's like, "Well, one of my cousin's children, he was there from Russia, and I was there from America, and there was like my other cousins that were coming in from Africa. Like, it was like a reunion type thing. So it's very common and customary to do like a huge dinner." And he was like, "Just go for the dinner and it'll be fine. And so and so speaks English." And I was like, "Oh, like something told me not to go." And I was like, "I don't want to go." And my dad's like begging me, "Just go." So we went down there, and one thing led to another, which war broke out. And within an hour of the first captive having been took, I'm looking at them like they're watching the news, like, "Oh, they're just gonna scare us a little bit." And I'm like, why is this natural for you? Like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, I know that this leads to war. Like, what I've been taught is this
Right.
leads to war. And they're like, no, it's not a big deal. Maybe within a half an hour, the first bomb I've ever heard in my entire life was miles away from my aunt's house. And it just shook the entire house. And I'm standing there with my son, holding my son, like, get me out of here. And they're like, no, 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 you can't leave now. I said, you guys were just saying that's no big deal. Get me back to my village. And they're like, no, you can't do that. And so they're like, just wait a little bit. And when I tell you, it just felt like fireworks were in the in the sky
Oh my
for
God.
hours and hours and hours, and the house just kept shaking. And every time I think about it, I get these like little chills in my neck. Um, so m- I have a cousin who lives, who her like their son who came from Russia. They speak English, so I'm like, no, I'm not. You guys can't keep me here. I'm coming. They're like, no, our area is way worse. And I was like, I don't care at this point. I need to be able to communicate with somebody. And so we went to that house and I called my dad and I was like, please don't make me stay here. Like, figure out something. My dad's like, you have to just chill out there. Like, you'll be fine. And everybody was trying to calm me down. I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. Like, I'm watching bombs fall. Like, I'm watching people die. And they're like, you'll like, what they were showing on TV here was not what we were experiencing there. And so, what I was explaining to my family over the phone was definitely not what they were seeing here.
Mm.
And so the next morning, I said, you guys, I have to figure out a way. So my cousin was like, fine, I'll risk it. He threw a white sheet over the top of his car. And I felt like we were in GTA. And he was like hovering and fighting a bridge to hide under and then finding, a side street to take. And everything was exploded. Like everything was blown up. And there was in the cars, it was like people that were just decapitated. And like you could never take that out of my vision. Like it's crazy. And so finally make it back to the village and my mother-in-law was like, why did you come back here? Like you were safer there. And I'm like, I don't know. Like I needed somebody like that understood me. And so 14 days of staying in a bomb shelter. My oldest son, who was one at the time, has a kidney condition and he was registered with the Red Cross. So by the grace of God, my family was able to do some magic to get me onto a list that would be able to get me back home. And so we went to the port, which was typically should be a 2-hour drive, was an 8-hour drive. And when I tell you it was crazy, like our driver, never forget this day, our driver pulled over to the side and took a smoke break. And I'm like, what are you doing? Get us. What do you? He was like, I have so much stress on me. He was like, I just need a minute. And I was like, damn,
That is another level of
just
crazy.
man, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
What?
So when we finally get there, we get to the port. They were like, we only have room for 2 more. So my in-laws were like, okay, you go, you and your son. They thought we were safe. We're going down to the port to get onto this Navy ship to cross over to Cyprus and fly home to America. They left me. Mind you, again, I said I barely spoke Arabic, and I have a
God.
1-year-old in my hand who has a kidney condition who passed out twice because of dehydration, whereas they're telling the world that they're providing food and water, and they're not. So get down to the port, and they were like, I'm ready to get on this. I'm like, I'm going home. The lady says, oh, sorry, there's no more room. And I was like, what? And she was like, just come back and try again tomorrow. I was like, wait, I don't know where I'm going. Like, I literally have his diaper bag and that's it. Like, that's all I was able to bring with me. We had no time to go up into a house and pack a bag and come. There was
Wow.
none of that. And so I'm sitting on the edge of the curb and I'm at this point crying. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And this lady walks by, I swear, God sends angels. And this lady, she walks by and she's like, aren't you so-and-so's daughter? And I was like, what? She was like, why are you crying? And I was like, how do you know? And she's like, your dad and my husband used to work in the factory together. She's like, come with me. And so she took me home. And so they were staying in Beirut, which was a lot safer at the time. And her daughter and I were the same size. She got me some clothes. While I was in the shower, I felt so bad because I hadn't spoke to my parents for a few days. They didn't even know what was happening or where I was. And so she called her family here, who then called my family. And my mom picked up and they were like, do you have a daughter that's in Lebanon? My mom straight up passed out. My dad had to take the phone. And my dad was like talking to me, gave me directives. So we ended up getting on like a Marine helicopter, which was the craziest thing. So they took everything that I had with me on me. They had us in like bulletproof vests, and they had like these huge headphones where it was so heavy that I couldn't even hold my son. Like they had to carry my son onto the helicopter for me.
You said what was so heavy?
The equipment that they had on
Oh, okay.
us, like it was protective
Okay.
gear. So it was almost like at any point we could have been struck. That's the type of stuff they had on us. And so when the helicopter took up, I'll never forget, like the back of it opened and there was like, I don't know what to call it, machine gun or whatever. And they had to like fire off to let them know, hey, this is a safe thing. And we're just crossing the water to get these people to safety. And that's what it was. And when they got us to Cyprus, it was like, okay, figure it out. So if I didn't have the knowledge or the experience of traveling, I would have been an immigrant in a whole other country with a 1-year-old and not known where to go or what to do. If I didn't have the financial backing to come back to America, I would have just been sitting in Cyprus.
That is insane.
And so when we heard like, oh, the Red Cross was helping or this was helping or that was helping, I know this is going to bite me in the ass for saying this, but I don't care at this point. None of that shit was helping. It's non-existent. It was non-existent at the time. And I'll never forget when I got my flight, flew into Philadelphia, called my dad, and I said, I want to be home tomorrow. He put me on a red eye from Philadelphia to Detroit. And when he picked me up from the airport, he's like, oh, everybody's waiting for you at the house. I said, no, I want to go home and take a shower. I haven't had a shower in 16 days. I just want a towel and some water. Like, we take life for granted so bad over here. It's not even funny. And so for a very long time after, I had to go to therapy. Anytime I would hear a helicopter or a plane over my head, I was under a table somewhere. And even with my son being as young as he was, he would just start screaming from when hearing those type things. So it was tough. And for, I want to say about 4 years, I was like, I'm not going back. I'm not going back. I'm not going back. And when I went back in 2010, I fell in love with it all over again. And so 2 years ago, a year before everything happened, my son at his late teens, he just turned 20. He went for his first time alone. And he had the time of his life. And he had that same experience that I had. And so once the wildfire pretty much spread from Palestine into Lebanon, because Lebanon decided to protect Palestine because it's such a sacred land for us, holy land for us. We were getting notifications that, this place was hit in Lebanon and that place was hit in Lebanon, this place. And so my son was like, I really just wanted to go. I said, this is why I told you not to go, because we knew that something was going to happen for them protecting Palestine. And so when I tell you, when he called me in tears at 20 years old saying, Mom, our windows are blown out in our house.
You felt like you were going through it all over again.
Hell. And so that's what led me to do the podcast with Angela Rye, because I don't think firsthand stories in situations like that are being told. I think we're hearing more of what could potentially happen, or what could be the potential, but just firsthand experience. Like, what do I, an American-born person with American-born children, who our roots are there, why do we deserve for our homes to be bombarded the way that they're being bombarded and treated the way that we're being treated while we're here? And their whole concept is, oh, well, the army's hiding in your house. No, they're not. Like, what are you saying?
Right.
What are you saying? Are you crazy? And so we've seen all these theories be debunked over and over and over at this point, and all the lies coming to light over and over and over. And it's just, it sucks, because biblically, Islamically, we know this is what is supposed to happen until our Savior returns. So
yeah, that is a crazy story.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still processing that whole thing.
yeah,
I think it's amazing the fact that you were over there and were able to make it back the way that you did, because that situation could have turned out completely different. And the fact that, your success is, leading the way that it is with FreshRootz, like, the average person wouldn't be able to know that that's something that you went through. You know what I'm saying? Just meeting you, like, that is wild. And I can only imagine the other stories that like that was probably a fraction of what's going on over there. I know that
Oh
it
yeah,
was.
that's what I'm saying. It's a whole thing. But one of the beautiful things about being Muslim, um, and I'm pretty sure it goes the same as other religions and denominations. But when you put your faith in a higher power, you don't let trauma lead. And when you don't let trauma lead, you don't bleed on others. You build a strength that is just so empowering and so ambitious that you just feel invincible to everything. And it's not the best always, because you find yourself hitting your head a couple times, but just having that optimism and knowing that we are a vessel here and we are nothing but that until we meet our purpose and we fulfill our purpose and we return home. um I think over the last maybe 5 years, just kind of dealing with everything that I'm dealing with and learning, um, a lot of the things that I'm learning in my own religion, I feel like I'm relearning it right now, because I've had to develop such a strong faith in something, seeing what my brother goes through on a day to day basis, and just knowing if this vessel can go through so much and survive, who am I to complain?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Fatima, if you could leave the audience off with, any inspiring words or, anything of that nature, what would you leave them off with?
Man, if I can leave you guys with one thing, I would say this. Let's learn to love our neighbor again. Let's learn to love our neighbor again. Let's learn to treat each other like humans again. Um, I think we are in an era of fear mongering, with so many different things, that we've lost such a connection with humanity. Whether it's supporting a business or standing with a family that's took a loss, or a race that has gone through years and years and years of trauma. Just learn to love thy neighbor again.
Absolutely. Yes, I appreciate having you on. That was an
Thank
awesome
you.
podcast.
Thank you.
Y'all, this is the 12th episode of the God Pod with Fatima Tico, owner of FreshRootz. I appreciate having y'all. Make sure you drop your handle and let them know where they can
Oh,
find
for
you.
sure. Yep. So FreshRootz is FRESHD no FRESHROOTZDET on all social media. FreshRootz Detroit. And then it's FreshRootsJuice.com for the website. And we actually have a merch line now, which is Deeply Rooted, and you can find that on Etsy, or you can buy it in store too. And then my personal is T_Fatima on all social media. So you'll find me there too.
That's what's up. Y'all heard it. Make sure y'all go follow on Instagram, TikTok, all the above. Grab some of that merch, and we're going to see y'all next time. Peace.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really got this shit in the bag right now. Bad bitch in the front seat, car go fast right now. Smoke dope, but we low key though. Had to give him the okey doke. Like I'm so straight, I'ma just pass right now. Nigga need that bread like Peter. Everything I do for a reason. If you break that code, it's treason. Every one of my dogs, I'm bleeding. Every one of my dogs, I need them. Locked down, free that pen, I breathing. I do this shit for a reason. I don't do this shit for no reason. What you wanna know, I won't lie.